Comedian Kathy Griffin has been suspended from Twitter for impersonating Elon Musk and not clearly marking the impersonation as a parody. She reportedly changed her name and profile picture to Musk's and then encouraged followers to vote for Democratic candidates in tomorrow's midterm elections.
Musk said that going forward, any Twitter handle engaging in impersonation without clearly specifying that it is a parody account will be permanently suspended. He also noted that previously Twitter would issue a warning before suspension, but now that they are rolling out widespread verification, there will be no warning. This will be clearly identified as a condition for signing up to Twitter Blue. So where are you on this, Robbie? Is this a total violation of free speech, or should parody be marked as such?
Well, I mean, look, I get that you should clearly mark, if you want to have a policy where you clearly mark satire as satire, parody as parody, fine, so people don't get confused about who people are. That is not a crazy rule at all to me. I think it does raise the specter of a kind of hypocrisy here in that, like, all the people, I mean, we're just, Elon saying this free speech site, this is going to be all about free speech. You know, that's what we're doing. That's like, well, okay, but bots aren't free speech for some reason, and then not marked parody is free speech. It's not free speech either. Do you see how that starts to seem a little ridiculous if we keep, like, maybe we could just concede Twitter is not. It's not going to be free speech. It's not a First Amendment issue because this is just a private company with rules, and then we need some rules for the platform. The old rules were bad and were not being enforced well. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be any rules, which I think is what Elon is saying, but then he confuses it sometimes by, like, waving the free speech flag. Like, we're never going to have total free speech on Twitter, right? I mean, nobody even wants that.
And to make things even worse, last week he tweeted, there's been a wild exodus of advertisers from the platform due to activist pressure. And then he said, threat to free speech or something like that, and I was thinking to myself, 3 days earlier, he had given AOC a hard time for saying it's a free speech issue to demand that somebody pay $8 a month to get a certain special status on an app that you freely sign up to use, that you would be able to use without that special status anyway. Right. That's not a free speech issue. But then 3 days
advertisers
later,
leaving is not free. Right. Exactly. Everyone has the right. In fact, you have a First Amendment right to associate or disassociate with who you please. Like, people are starting to get really confused. Free speech is an amorphous concept. If we mean the First Amendment right to free speech, the First Amendment is only a bulwark against government censorship. It only prohibits, thank goodness it does in very strong language, prohibits the government from violating your speech rights. That's not Twitter. Now, I think it's fine to liken what Twitter does to a kind of censorship. In some cases, we've discussed many times on the show, we've discussed social media moderation calls that are really bad, that have happened to me, that have happened to other people. Yeah, it's been bad. I think it is akin to a kind of censorship, even if it's not illegal, and it's fine to call it out. But we need to we can't only have, we need to call those things out just for being bad because we don't agree with them, or they should enforce their own policy. It's not, the language of free speech is not always going to get you there because it's just a company with its own rules. So we're getting a little confused if we lean too hard into the free speech framing, which I think Elon must know in some way, in some sense. But meanwhile, as you mentioned, Musk's feud with Representative AOC has been reignited. On Saturday, he took to Twitter and said, "Hot take, not everything AOC says is 100% accurate." This came in response to tweets by AOC and actor Mark Ruffalo. AOC tweeting, "Yo, while I have your attention, why should people pay $8 just for their app to get bricked when they say something you don't like? This is what my app has looked like ever since my tweet upset you yesterday. What's good doesn't seem very free speechy to me."
Ruffalo then replied to this saying, "Elon, please, for the love of decency, get off Twitter, hand the keys over to someone who does this as an actual job, and get on with running Tesla and SpaceX. You are destroying your credibility. It's not a good look." Mark Ruffalo is, like, famously wrong about everything, right? You know when he's entered the chat that, whatever he's... Yeah. Here's my problem
with this
conversation.
Great actor, terrible opinions.
Right. Is I feel like both the left and the right are missing the point. The left is acting like if you give conservatives fair shakes on this app, that's the equivalent of turning it into Gab. And the right is acting like if you say to people, if you tweet the N-word, we're going to suspend you because we want to make money on this app, we want to advertise on it, and we want black people to feel like human beings here. The right is acting like if you say that's the equivalent of what's been going on up until now, where every conservative gets shadow banned. It's not. The real problem is that Musk is in danger of turning Twitter into WeChat. I mean, that is the danger. This is not a person who cares about free speech at all. We know that from his dealings with the Chinese Communist Party. We know that he has given them over all the data in the Teslas. We know that he's totally willing to play game with their censorship and surveillance regime. That is the threat. This guy uses free speech, throws it around to make himself seem like a maverick here in the U.S., to make himself the darling of the right, when the truth is that, in China, he has we just look at what he's doing there. You know that this is all just a game for him, which, look, he's having a great time, and now he's got this huge debt. He's got to find a way to make money on this. He's flirting with AOC. She's flirting back. It's awesome. Everybody's having a good time. It's really fun to watch. There's a real danger here, I think.
I would urge him to, right now it looks like he wants to be both the referee and a player, if we're thinking of it in that sense. And that is going to open him up to all sorts of charges of hypocrisy. Like, he replies to people on Twitter so much, or sometimes on individual, people say like, Elon, fix this, and he'll be like looking into it. He only does, and right now he most commonly does that for very right-wing people, so that ends up looking biased, which is fine if he's just a combatant in the fray, but now he owns the company, and it's going to open him up to his own accusations of unfairness. I think it has been funny to see like progressives, liberal Democrats, et cetera, discover shadow banning for the first time. Like AOC, what she's talking about here, she is claiming that. She is implying that because she was having that feud with Elon, he did something there was some kind of malfeasance with her account, which I don't think is the case. He said he's not really changed anything of that. So that's probably just some kind of glitch that happened to her. I had a glitch last week, probably for no reason. But that is the thing. Conservatives, not just conservatives, Brianna, our co-host, has said it happened to her too, about their accounts getting shadow banned or nuked, or there's something going on the back end, not clear, not explained why, who knows, it's like that is the very thing right-wing people complain about. Now left-wing people or liberal progressives are complaining it's happening to them. So that's totally flipped. And then also on the other side, I see some right-wing people going like, well, yes, but Kathy Griffin technically did violate the rules, so it's totally fine to take her down. Like, really, we're gonna. I mean, Donald Trump also technically violated the rules. That did like people. In the past, there have been violations of the rules, and you've said, well, but it's censorship to do this. Like, everyone just really wants to, I think, root for their own team in a very debilitating for our society sort of way, and a sad way for me. But
100%.
Let's just have rules that are evenly enforced, that kind of default to if not an ethos of openness and discussion and debate, while realizing that in order to make this a place that people want to talk and discuss, that is attractive to advertisers, because at the end of the day, Twitter wants to make money, there are going to be some rules to remove really obnoxious, loathsome content. So Musk revealed on Friday, by the way, that Twitter has had a massive drop in revenue, apparently due, he says, to activist groups pressuring advertisers to drop it. According to Musk, this is even though nothing has changed so far with content moderation, and, quote, we did everything we could to appease the activists, extremely messed up. They're trying to destroy free speech in America, which is what you alluded to earlier.
Right. And Musk then announced that Twitter will soon allow its users to monetize their own content on the platform, in addition to adding long form text to tweets. So here's my problem is a lot of what he's doing, I really think is great. Monetizing the blue checks. I mean, have you ever seen anything so small that has exposed the addiction that the blue check Twitterati has to the status that they have on that platform? I mean, it was just so delicious to see the collective meltdown from people like AOC and so forth at the idea that they will not be prioritized anymore, that any person with $8 to spare will be able to buy the kind of privilege they've been enjoying, right? It was totally delicious. The idea that Twitter has to be able to make money, the idea that we should become the customers, right, rather than the product, right? They always say in Silicon Valley, something is free, you're the product, right?
Yep.
I mean, this is all great stuff. I think your comment about the referee and the player is so brilliant, Robbie, because that's exactly the problem. Is like he fired all of the people, who he needed in order to make this vision happen. Now they're sort of like sheepishly inviting some people back. They accidentally fired too many people, right? It's a mess. It's just he's extremely messy. And I totally agree. He's not the right person to be the referee. And the fact that he is sort of so, it's so clear that so much of his personality is invested in this right now, right? The time he spends replying to random people, it's I agree with you that is a real problem. But again, I know I sound like a broken record, but as we're sitting here enjoying all of this stuff on Twitter, so is China. Like they are very, very, very happy, that Elon Musk now owns, something that is akin to the public square in America.
But I should call out before we go all the chatter from kind of misinformation, mainstream media type people, or people who claim to specialize in that beat, which is the biggest red flag you could ever hear from someone. They saying how this is in time to ruin and hijack the election, right? Now that we've had like 4 days of Elon's regime running Twitter, now the elections are truly lost for Democrats, right? That's the thing. That's the reason Democrats are going to lose, is because Elon has been in charge of Twitter for the last several days. I mean, that thinking really does pervade. I mean, like we're making fun of it because it's ridiculous, but that is a thinking that pervades much mainstream media discourse on tech right now. Like, the masses are not on Twitter. Twitter's an important space because so many journalists and political people are active there. It has an impact on policy because the tastemakers are there. But people, it's not a popular site for the masses, for the vote. Like they're not getting their cues from some tweak. And he didn't even make any tweaks, but if he made some tweak to Twitter in the last 4 days, that's not what's changing votes. It's so insane to fixate on that as what's going on. So of course the mainstream media is fixated on exactly that.
Of course.
Well, we'll have more Rising right after this. Stay with us.